And to everyone, welcome to the third edition of the pool party. It's a relatively new concept. We have the governance call for Centrifuge for the ecosystem. Then we have the community call. It's a little bit older. And the pool party is something for active pools to talk about their pools, give an update, give an outlook, explain if there's something new. And of course, it's a place for new pools in the future to talk about their concept and give the community the time for feedbacks and questions, of course. We have today in the third edition of the call, Kirill, welcome. He's the CEO from New Silver, and New Silver is the biggest pool on Centrifuge on Tinlake, if I'm not mistaken. And the agenda is he will give a little bit of an update of what happened to the pool, to New Silver. Then we have a little bit of a Q&A session. Ron will help me with that, and of course you can ask questions. So we have a lot of time for Q&A afterwards. And yeah, if you have any questions, just write them in the chat, or if you want, you can ask the questions directly, of course. Yeah.
All right.
I guess we can start with the session, if there are no questions from you.
So just by way of further introduction, Kirill Bensonoff is the co-founder and managing partner of New Silver. New Silver is a technology-enabled fix and flip lender. The company, which is based in the US, has other lending products, but our focus is the fix and flip space, because that's where New Silver is leveraging the power of decentralized finance. Now, the company was the first to launch an asset pool on Tinlake, the decentralized lending platform created by Centrifuge on the Ethereum mainnet. Excuse me. That asset pool, New Series 2, one of the 12 asset pools on Tinlake, currently has a value of just under $32 million as of this morning, which is about 37% of the total value locked on Tinlake, and more than 3 times that of the next largest asset pool. Now, Kirill, hello again. Some of the people tuning into this call may be new to New Silver. Actually, I know that 2 of them are new. And to your association with Centrifuge. Can you briefly explain how New Silver's fix and flip loans work?
Sorry, Zatar, before we continue, do you mind shutting off your Discord? I think that's where the pings are coming from.
Oh, okay. Just give me a second here.
Yes,
Yeah,
someone's Discord is running. It's not mine, so it has to be yours.
No, it's his, because everybody else is muted, I think.
Yeah. Ron's.
Sorry about that. I think that's it.
Cool.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. So, thank you for the introduction. As far as to go right into the answer to your question, how do the fix and flip loans work? Essentially, the loan is structured as a construction loan. It could be used for a new purchase of a property that needs renovation. We lend in 41 states in the United States, so there's a few exclusions, but most of the U.S. Is covered. Essentially, just kind of speaking to the structure of the loan specifically, it's structured as either a purchase or a refinance of a single family or a smaller and multi-family type of a dwelling, non-owner occupied business purpose style loan. So our borrowers are small businesses in effect that want to borrow, buy, and then fix, and then whether it's resell or refi or do something with that property after it's completed.
All So can you explain how your company uses your asset pool on Tinlake, new Series 2? What are the mechanics? And does the money you lend your clients come directly from the investors in the asset pool? And are the mortgages for these properties bundled and securitized?
So the way that we use the capital is kind of similar to a securitization structure, sort of a revolving securitization structure, I guess, so that there may be some difference from a traditional one, but we originate the loan. So New Silver originates the loan with our own capital. And after the loan has been originated, everything is signed and we have all of the confirmations that the loan is final. We make we disperse the funds, or not we have an attorney or a settlement agent or someone that does the closing. At that point we can essentially go on to Tinlake and securitize that loan. So we essentially then draw capital from Tinlake to repay New Silver the funds that were lent to this borrower. Got it.
Now, a lot has happened in the economy over the last few months. It has not been pretty. Last Friday, it was reported that new home sales in the US in April and May fell 19% to their lowest level in 2 years. Mortgage rates in the US have spiked. Mortgage applications and existing home prices are falling. At the same time, the US Federal Reserve raised the interest rate earlier this month by 0.5%, and further increases are expected by the end of the year. And to top it all off, there's been the devastating crypto bear market. So how will these developments affect New Silver's fix and flip business, and how will they affect your DeFi connection?
I think let me just talk about sort of the macro markets, because I do provide updates, but they change, as you mentioned, they change pretty rapidly every month. So whilst specifically on the mortgage rates, now the mortgage rates are not something that we ourselves have a direct, I guess, correlation or relationship with, because we lend to businesses and our rates have always been higher than the mortgage rates, the Fannie and Freddie consumer mortgage rates that lend for people's homes where they live. However, our borrower, when they go to sell the property, that's when the buyer, who is typically a consumer, could be impacted by these higher mortgage rates, right? Because they may not be able to afford as high of a monthly payment anymore because the mortgage rates are higher, other things, etc. So the mortgage rate specifically, again, not a direct impact on us, but a more of an impact on the exit strategies of our borrowers. So it's an interesting dynamic, actually, because in the middle of the month, in the middle of May, the mortgage rate had like a local top, right? They're at the local highs, and now they've started to go down. Actually, I have yet to understand why that is. I mean, they're typically tied to a 10-year Treasury bond. So I'm presuming, I haven't had the time yet to dig into why this, I guess, not a major, but a somewhat of a decrease in the average U.S. sort of mortgage rates has been happening for the last couple of weeks. So that's an interesting dynamic, right? So what is that going to do? We'll have to see. Is it going to continue to go down? Is it going to reverse trend and go up? So that's one dynamic that's happening. The other thing that's interesting, if we compare what's happening today to the last real estate crisis, right? So right now is not a specific real estate crisis at the moment, right? It could always turn into one as well. The broader economy could drag down any sector with a recession or a slowdown. But if we compare it strictly to the 2007-2012 U.S. or global probably real estate bear market, I guess. The situation is quite different, right? First of all, back then the underwriting standards that the banks and non-bank lenders underwrote against were very different. They're in the business of handing out money essentially to a lot of folks that could not pay for their monthly payments, and the hope was that they're going to buy this house and then resell it 3 months later with a 10% profit. And a lot of people were able to do that, but then somebody got stuck without a chair at the end of it. So the underwriting standards today are pretty tight on the banking side. So they're still fairly similar to what they were before. The appraisals and the way that the appraisals are done, which were largely to blame for the last crisis, because the appraisers work directly for the banks or the lenders, and the values they assign to these properties were, in a lot of times, were not reality. Today, the appraisals are primarily used through an independent appraisal management company, so the lenders don't have direct appraisal communication, and appraisers don't work directly for the lender, and so that should, in theory, make them more honest. They don't have a stated interest in getting somebody this loan or something like that. And also, when they do their appraisers, they look at let's say 6 months comparison sales history. And with the values increasing at the rates that they have been, the appraisals are actually coming in lower than what a vast majority of our borrowers expect, because they look back 6 months and they have a comp 6 months ago, then it may be 5%, 10%, some cases cheaper, and so they're assigning their value based on that. So I think everything is the picture on the underwriting and the valuation is a lot better than it was before. Obviously the cost of that consumer mortgage has increased already, and we'll see where that dynamic continues to go. But on another note, another positive is that sort of the technology has greatly expanded what real estate investors can do with their properties, right? So maybe, again, going back to the last crisis, a real estate crisis, there were a lot less options, right? They could sell it to somebody else and maybe rent it to somebody else, right? Today, there's a number of platforms that enable sort of fractionalized selling. They enable remote rentals, etc. So there's a lot more technology enablement in the space that enables different types of monetization strategies for these small businesses that are in fact our customers, our borrowers.
All right. What about the bear market in crypto? How do you see that affecting New Silver?
We have no exposure to any crypto, so we're not an investor in crypto. We don't play in crypto. I don't see that having an effect on us right now.
And what about the availability of capital through Tinlake or Centrifuge? Do you anticipate any impact in that regard?
I mean, specifically on MakerDAO, real world assets are a tiny fraction of their portfolio, and from what I understand, they're still looking to grow that substantially, right? It's not even 1% of their portfolio right now. So I don't anticipate any immediate impact, to that end of it. As far as people investing on Tinlake, again, I think having real world assets in their quote unquote crypto portfolio is a nice diversification strategy. I don't know, I don't know what people will decide to do at the end of the day. I haven't seen any effect as so far.
Well, I do note that since we first announced this presentation, the investment in your asset pool has increased by about $2 million. So not sure what that says. And I'll have some questions for you about MakerDAO shortly, but I wanted to note that you last did an update for the Centrifuge community about 3 weeks ago, and you do regular updates on the Centrifuge governance forum. Now, since your last update, on May 10th, how many new loans have been made with the backing of your asset pool?
Yep. So the May 10th update was for the month of April. So let's just say in the month of May, we did 18 new loans overall. We don't necessarily, not every loan goes on Tinlake. The majority of them do, but we originate 18 new loans, roughly $9 million worth of new originations.
And how many loans have you made since launching the asset pool?
I think we're closing in on about 200 assets in total. So roughly 200. A bunch of them have already been repaid and closed off, but that's the number. And
in your last update, so for April, you reported that the average loan size was 246,000 DAI, which is roughly equivalent to 246,000 US dollars. Has that changed for May?
Our May, the average origination is a bit higher than that. Yeah, so I think since the property prices in general are going up, I think we're going to see that increase as long as that trend continues in the world, or in the country at least.
And in the month of May, have you had any defaults or even late payments beyond 90 days?
Nope. No, we're still in the last day. As far as I know, there's no lates.
All right. So since you started this asset pool, I suppose that was October 2020 with a pilot program. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have not had any defaults on any of your loans. Is that right?
Correct.
And do you expect that will change now in the current economic landscape? And if so, are you taking any steps to mitigate that risk?
We've always had plans for potential defaults. We still have the same service providers. I mean, our servicer handles default resolutions that we can, FCI is our servicer, so we can definitely rely on them. We have a network of various other service providers if we need to do like an off-chain legal process to resolve those. So in addition to that, we also have a number of other ways to disposition of these non-performing loans. We could sell them. We have relationships with buyers that specifically focus on defaulted assets. We sell them for a small loss, potentially, maybe at par. I mean, they're going to value each one of them separately. In addition to that, we have these other like tech mechanisms that we can, depending on the type of default. I guess if someone, for example, has a loan that's maturing and they haven't been able to dispose of the asset, I mean, technically they can go into default because their loan is due and they haven't repaid it, right? We have an option of extending it if it makes sense, but if it doesn't, then we don't have to, obviously. But we could help them. Our goal is to help our borrowers essentially do what they plan on doing, right? To help them with the renovation, help them with the sale, help them make money at the end of the day and repay us, so that everyone's happy. So we still have the same plans. We do expect defaults. I mean, I don't think that it's realistic to be without any defaults, through stretches of economic cycles, but I believe we have plans to deal with them.
All right. Now, in your last update, you reported that the average originated interest rate was 9%. Now, is that the rate that your borrowers pay?
Yeah, I think it's somewhere in that vicinity. This month, somewhere in that vicinity as well.
And your investors through the asset pool, there's two types. There's the less risky investors who get a lower rate of return, approximately 4% right now. And then you have another tranche of investors who get a much higher interest rate, about 17%. And they're the ones that take any hit if there is a default. Is that roughly how it works?
Yeah, so just you're speaking of the tranches, right?
That's
way
right.
that
The senior tranche, 4% rate of return annually, and junior tranche, more risky, 17% annually.
Yeah, so the senior, you're correct, it's a fixed return there, and the tin, we think of it more as a mezz tranche, but yeah, the junior tranche, I guess, it fluctuates. So I think what displays in Tinlake is like the last 3 months, I believe 90 days of the rolling average, which I think is like between 18 and 19% in the last, I don't know, last couple of weeks, but it does fluctuate. So if there is a default, the junior tranche tin is impacted first. And then if it can absorb the impact, then senior is not impacted. But if it can, then senior can get impacted as well, depending on how many defaults happen and the values of all of those defaults.
So I have a question about the higher rate of return for the junior tranche investors. If borrowers are only paying 9% interest, how can you pay junior tranche investors almost double that as a rate, as a return?
Right, it works out to be that because the cost of capital from MakerDAO and from the senior investors is substantially below what the SPV collects for interest. So it works like leverage. I mean, MakerDAO right now lends to us at 3.5% fixed, and if we collect, if we lend to the borrower, let's say at 9 or 8.5. Then, so the way it works is that we lend to the borrower first, we then place the loan into Tinlake, into the pool, and that is at a rate, the financing fee is lower than what the original origination interest is, and the originator collects the spread. But let's say we originate at 9 and then it gets put into the pool at I don't know, 6.5, 7, that's kind of, it's a dynamic rate, but let's say that's the average. Then the way that the math works out is that because of the cheaper senior capital, the junior tranche can collect a substantially higher interest rate. Got
it. Now you mentioned MakerDAO, so not everybody on this call may be familiar with MakerDAO. So MakerDAO is a decentralized borrowing and lending protocol, and a big chunk of the investment in your asset pool, specifically the senior tranche investment, comes through MakerDAO. Now, at the time of your last update, your debt ceiling with MakerDAO was $20 million US dollars. Have you applied to increase that?
Not yet, but we're in the process of applying soon.
All right. By how much?
I mean, we don't have the final numbers, but it'll be, I think the total pool we hope will be, around 130, 150 million.
All right. And now in your last, in a recent presentation, you noted that you signed a $20 million term sheet for a mezzanine facility.
Correct.
Can you tell us a bit about that and explain what a mezzanine facility is?
So it's a mezzanine is essentially the junior tranche that we've been speaking with. So we've signed a term sheet with a traditional structured finance lender located in the US, and it's essentially a $20 million facility to cover the junior tranche in this hopefully new and expanded overall pool size. So they'll be the tin investor basically.
Now, do you have any future plans for New Silver's fix and flip business and your connection with Centrifuge that we haven't yet mentioned that you'd like to tell the community about?
Well, I mean, yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff, and we're expanding technology on our end. We hope to have tighter integrations with Tinlake. So I think my vision was essentially from day one is that we can originate a loan, whether, right now we use technology to underwrite, but the closing process is a completely off-chain process. I mean, that is something I hope will change. That's not part of something that we're building. It's not part of our business, right? But some others are building potentially on-chain processes. So maybe in the years to come, close the loan on-chain and then immediately securitize it through Tinlake, and get liquidity, and then send that liquidity out to investors and things like that. So yeah, I mean, we're doing a lot on the tech side. We're expanding partnerships to help our borrowers dispose of these assets when the time comes. We're obviously working on the maker relationship and expansion of the debt ceiling. That is our primary focus right now.
Now, so you've been with Centrifuge now for about 1.5 years. Have there been any surprises in the course of that relationship? Things that were unexpected, either on the positive side of the ledger or the negative side of the ledger?
Surprises, I think we have a very open line of communication, so like not surprises per se. I mean, there was nothing that I was told that was like, boom, like, oh, this is great or this is bad. I mean, I think we were in touch very, very regularly with the team, so I definitely appreciate that. Surprises, probably not. I mean, I think, obviously we went from 0 to 1, right? In the beginning, like this RWA lending did not exist on chain, and this whole structure did not exist on chain before Centrifuge put it together, and so it was a bit of a leap of faith for us. I think this is the future, and I think like compared to like the traditional lending, I think this is where things are going in the medium and long term. I think that there's going to be a lot of real world assets on chain. There's going to be a more robust infrastructure and an ecosystem for real world assets. So yeah, I think that mostly positives. There's always challenges, but I don't think there was any surprises.
So you started New Silver in 2018, and at that time you were using traditional sources of financing to obtain capital. Now, and to grow the fix and flip side of your business, you turned to decentralized finance. And I just touched on that now, but I just want to explore that a little bit more in depth. Why? Would it not have been easier, maybe cheaper, to seek capital from entities in the traditional world of finance?
Like I said, I think this is the future. It may have been easier, probably, yeah. I mean, it took us quite a long time, and there's a lot of challenges to launching something brand new like this. But I believe that by doing what we're doing now, we're sort of staking our business's future against against this newly emerging financial sector. But I think this is the future. It has all the elements of future finance that I think are important, and we're ready to go through the challenges, I guess, to be on the forefront of innovation and of future financial services.
Now you have experience, as I noted, with traditional financing sources, and you continue to use them. Now, how do you compare the two? Is decentralized finance more convenient? Can you give actual examples that show how? I know you mentioned this in passing a few moments ago. And if it's faster, if it's cheaper, can you give some hard numbers?
We're actually starting up a research in conjunction with the university. We haven't announced it yet, so I will announce it shortly, as it's like getting finalized right now. But we have a university a US-based university that we have been talking to for a while, and they're going to do like an in-depth study of the securitization costs on chain versus securitization costs traditionally. So I'll be, without that, I think like providing just rough numbers probably doesn't make sense. So we should have that, hopefully in the next month or two. But I do think that, again, the potential for technologically solving for a lot of the paper-based and traditional processes is certainly very attractive. So, I mean, I think a traditional securitization, just roughly, I mean, if they're obviously like the sizes are different. So our size of our pool is still small compared to what a traditional securitization would do. But let's say they're doing a $200 million tranche of assets, and they could probably expect to spend, 1 to 1.5% just on costs to launch. And then obviously there's a lot of ongoing costs. So just kind of anecdotally speaking, the costs to securitize on chain are a lot lower.
Okay. Now there's a question in the chat. Someone wanted you to repeat what you said about there being a new source of tin coming in.
Yep. So this was, I think this is the traditional lender that I spoke about. They're a structured finance lender, and we've signed a $20 million term sheet that will basically, hopefully in this new expanded relationship with Maker, they will be the tin tranche in that relationship.
All right, got it. Now, see, last week you were at the Lend It FinTech conference in New York. Did you gain any insights or ideas at the conference that might impact your collaboration with Centrifuge?
I think I think again, just sort of on the conference is really centered around lenders and their service providers, right? So I think one big takeaway from me was I spoke to a number of banks that were represented at the conference, and they all have a crypto strategy, which was great, right? So certain banks are starting to lend against crypto. Others are, wanting to onboard digital asset companies to their, to their bank, and they have, they're building, whether it's, private blockchains for some kind of value transfer, or utilizing public blockchains for whatever, right? But they all have different strategies. But the nice thing for me was that banks are definitely not only taking notice. I mean, they're in and building. It's not just Silvergate and Signature Bank. Those were the two sort of traditionally they're the two crypto bankers in the US. There's quite a few other banks that are now, building or have built stuff to accommodate crypto. So that was really a huge positive. And then specifically to our business, I mean, there was nothing that we decided to do at that conference. We met with, it was great to see some of the Centrifuge team. That was awesome. And meet some of the Maker representatives as well, and just chat with folks who are either in crypto directly or going into crypto, or have some relationship there. So that was good.
Got it. So based on your New Silver's experience with Centrifuge, are there any changes or additions you'd like to see made to the Centrifuge protocol that might assist your business?
Changes to the protocol, like the new app and stuff like that, or
what do you mean? That, well, also in that same regard, I mean, you're moving, or Centrifuge is moving the asset pools from the Ethereum mainnet to their own chain on Polkadot soon. So in that context, are there changes that you hope to see happen with that transition? And generally, are there changes that might be implemented with the way the pools are run to make your life easier?
I mean, there's certain technical improvements that I think I've spoken with the team about, and I believe some of them are, or maybe more, I don't know the exact features included, but I do know that some of the suggestions I had were being implemented into the new protocol and the new UI and the new app and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing, for us, the main thing is capital, right? Having access to capital. So technical features are great. Having integration with Maker and or other similar protocols, if they're out there, is important, obviously. Having investors come on, that's more potentially our job, but having access to capital is probably what's most important to everyone in our position.
And what kind of technical features are you referring to?
I mean, the one I could think of was ability to create multiple tranches. So not just having 2 tranches, but having 3 tranches or more. I believe that's one of the features that I saw that was in the new application. So yeah, that's helpful.
Now, when the pools, or when your pool moves over to the Centrifuge chain from Tinlake, gas fees, so transaction fees, both for yourself and investors, are going to drop significantly. Do you envisage raising your rates of return for senior investors with that drop in transaction fees on Ethereum mainnet?
I guess we think more about just the macro markets. I mean, we have not decided one way or the other. It's something we're always thinking about, like what are the rates that people expect, and what is it that we could pay so that everyone is profitable at the end of the day. So yeah, we have not decided on any changes to the senior or the senior investor rates, I guess.
And is there anything special you're looking forward to about the move from Ethereum over to the Centrifuge chain, besides lower gas fees?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, I'm not. I use Ethereum primarily in this business, and for others, or like personal things that I've done previously. I haven't used Polkadot too much. I mean, from what I understand, it's a safe network with much lower gas fees and much faster transactions, and some probably a bunch of other benefits. So, I mean, again, for us, the capital availability is what's most important. So I think having sort of the bridge to Ethereum, where MakerDAO, is located, I guess, on the Ethereum blockchain, is super important. I mean, without that, we couldn't move, frankly. I mean, we would there needs to be a bridge to Ether. I mean, it's still the dominant chain. So.
Okay. So, do you have any words of advice to business owners who might be contemplating joining the decentralized finance space to obtain financing on Centrifuge?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I'm happy to talk to anyone that is interested and has questions. I've done so many times over. People are interested in various aspects, whether it's raising capital or doing other things on DeFi. I guess words of advice. I mean, just be ready for challenges and have goals to get to, and those challenges will be overcome. But at the end of it, I think you can expect a potentially nice business model for yourself.
Okay. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to ask. Why don't we open it up to the audience for questions?
If there are any questions, because you asked already everything in detail. So and Kirill of course answered everything. That was a really very good Q&A session, in my opinion. Maybe I asked Kirill, how did you like it? Is this something you can see for future pool parties? This kind of Q&A session instead of a PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion is I usually like more interactive conversations. Again, like I think a PowerPoint presentation may not be bad. So I think like, cause I did one recently for Maker. So the thought was we kind of change up the format. So if the same people are participating in both, potentially they're not seeing kind of very similar content. No, it's good. I appreciate you guys having me here.
Yeah, that definitely I agree. PowerPoint or some summaries are helpful when you have a lot of numbers, but for sure if you have direct interaction and Q&As, it's more personal. Of course, you can interact and exchange, and yeah, I liked it. Thanks to Ron. Really good stuff. Yeah. What else has the community to ask? If there are questions, if there are still questions left to Kirill.
While we're waiting for more questions, I have a question. Kirill,
Yes.
I noticed from your website that New Silver funds scholarships for.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, it's not. It's more of a charity that we're doing. We have just a scholarship fund that we created a couple of years ago, I think, and we did. I know it was actually one last year, so it was we had one previous round before, and it's kind of geared at like people that want to go into fintech and crypto as their career, and we're helping them pay for their tuition.
And also, I noticed on your website there's a page about your company's connection with DeFi, and do you get calls from other companies who've seen that page on your website with questions about themselves getting into decentralized finance?
Sometimes we do, yeah. And I think people, like I said before, I mean, people reach out to me directly. So I've had countless conversations, and I always try to make the time, even if it's 15 minutes. I think I'm happy to help anyone, get like initial thoughts on how this works, and if they could make it work for themselves or not. I generally don't view this whole sector as competitive. I feel that the more openness there is, the better off everyone is, and that's like the ethos of crypto in general. I mean, everything as much open source as possible. So I'm happy to help, whether they're a competitor to quote unquote competitor to us in the real world or not, doesn't matter. I think the markets are very large, right? That at least we operate in, and I believe most others. And having others participate and build an ecosystem is much more valuable, for everyone.
Have your competitors contacted you?
I don't know about specific folks from the sector that we're in. Don't remember exactly, but I think other real estate lenders, like in slightly different products. Yeah, we've talked to one extensively, and we've kind of helped where we could and pointed them in the direction. I don't know, this wasn't that long ago, so I don't know what they're doing, but yeah, people like the real estate lenders for sure we've talked to.
Nice one. Yeah, are there any questions left Ron didn't ask so far from the community maybe? Otherwise, I have a question. You mentioned in the New Silver April update, New Silver has recently become a member at US Green Building Council, which oversees the LEED clarification certification. What's that? I don't know what it is.
Yep. So we became a member of this council. We haven't launched the programs formally, but we're planning on launching in the next month or two. Essentially, some rebate programs for our borrowers that, depending on the type of building they're doing, whether it's ground up or fix and flip, there's slightly different programs. But we want to incentivize folks to build sustainably as much as possible, right? So we're going to do our small part here to reward financially our borrowers that comply with these standards. So essentially, we'll have like a financial incentive for the borrowers to standards, and hopefully people take advantage of that and build green.
Nice one. Important. It's highly needed. Every business, in my opinion, should take care of this, because this is important to consider environmental footprint impact. That's really important. But if I understand it correctly, you will talk about it in the next summary, maybe, or in the next update.
Yeah, we probably not this one. We're not quite there, but hopefully in the next update. Yeah, we're launching this summer. We're going to launch the program, so we'll talk about it some more as well. Absolutely.
Cool. But it hasn't anything to do with pools on Tinlake.
No, it's more something that we're doing as a company to do what we can, right? To encourage our borrowers to think about sustainability, put it on their radar, and help them financially if they choose to, if they choose to go that way.
Very important. Highly appreciated. Very good.
I agree. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions. So if you
Great.
have any questions, it was really detailed Q&A. I can possibly imagine that there is something left, but
I could ask Kirill about his trip to Italy.
We have time. We have still 9 minutes left, so we can talk about.
No, it was a wedding. I went to a wedding, and it was a fun trip. Italy is beautiful. I've never been to that part, and thankfully our friends decided to get married there, and I got to see Lake Como.
Ah, Lake Como.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah, it was amazing.
We actually have two Italians here. Kate is from Parma, if I'm not mistaken, and Ivan is from Naples. So
we live in Italy, but we're not Italian. Yeah.
Yeah, half Italian.
Hey, I got a question.
Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I'm not Italian, don't live in Italy, but I've got a question in. Questions about, are you guys at New Silver, are you actually working with any other sources of finance? For example,
Justin, you're cutting out a little bit. Can you check your mic maybe?
How's that?
Better.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, so my question is whether, are you bringing in other sources of finance outside of DeFi at the moment? So are you also working with your other banks and other lenders? And if so, like, how are you prioritizing whose capital to be deploying at the moment? Are you prioritizing DeFi loans, like the money you've borrowed from DeFi, or more traditional financial capital? Because obviously one of the key metrics in the pool is, how quickly you can be deploying capital.
Yeah. So the only I guess non-DeFi capital is the term sheet that I mentioned before. So that that is the tin tranche. Our goal is to deploy 100% of our loans to DeFi. So that is our goal. I mean, right now, if we're not capital constrained on DeFi, we don't have any, we're not working on any new non-DeFi capital right now, just to answer your question. So our goal is to raise substantial capital in DeFi and place 100% of our volume into DeFi.
Thanks.
Hopefully that was,
Yeah, thanks, Justin.
cool.
Thanks for the answer, Kirill. We still have time for six minutes, maybe 1 or 2 questions. Something urgent. Otherwise, I ask the question to every asset originator. If there is something left, how can they reach you, the investors or potential investors?
Potential investors who are interested in investing in Tinlake, or
yes, how can they reach you if there are some questions left?
Sure. I think the easiest would be email investors@newsilver.com. Feel free to email there. I mean, I'm also on Discord in the Centrifuge channel, so you can all definitely DM me or post a message. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Awesome.
Ron, you want something to say? One more question, Ron, or is your catalog ready? Are you finished?
Actually, I have another question to
Perfect.
to run the clock out, to the hour. Now you characterize New Silver as a technology-enabled lender, and you've spoken about wanting to automate the lending process as much as possible. So are there any advances in automation at New Silver that have been made possible by blockchain?
Well, I think, this is sort of still the future. I mean, I do believe that there are things there already. We just may have not implemented everything, obviously, at this point. But I do think that having the blockchain for transparency, for loan level details, for sort of this instant or close to instant ability to securitize and then get liquidity, that is blockchain. That is purely blockchain design innovation, and obviously, with Tinlake and Centrifuge facilitating the transfer of value. So I think there's quite a lot of stuff that we have not yet taken advantage of that we will take advantage of in the not too distant future.
Anything specific you have in mind for upcoming innovations? Maybe something that you're already working on?
I think it's the tighter integration with whether it's Tinlake or the new the new protocol, the new app, probably the new one, if for kind of all talking about migrating there. But it's just a tighter integration, ability for us to originate loans, press a couple buttons and see that loan securitized and get liquidity for it. That's going to involve a bunch of different steps. So I'm kind of summarizing it. So that is the primary objective that we want to accomplish, and then also post, obviously, as much as we can, post ongoing information about each loan to the blockchain or to the UI, and have people be able to instantly see where we are, right? See where the portfolio is.
All right, thank you for that answer, and thanks for your all the time and preparation you did for today.
Great. I really appreciate you guys and all the time you put into this, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for Ron, of course. It was really, really good prepared. And of course, thanks to Kirill for taking the time to answer all these questions. Okay,
Great.
guys. Thanks a lot for everyone who tuned in. And yeah, if you want to watch the recording, it will be uploaded soon to the channels. See you around.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.